Hello my spider friends. Today we're here to talk about my experience at the IHS Doncaster show. It's been like the first reptile show that's been able to actually happen in like 2 years, basically since COVID. It's my first time attending one of these type of shows. I've been to like the Northern Invert show before, which is for like inverts, obviously. This was my first reptile show, and this is the show, the first show that I've attended in a wheelchair, as I'm disabled. Most of the time when I go to shows I use a roller tour because I can walk, but I've been having some very bad knee problems recently, so because of how busy it was going to be and everything, I decided it was going to be easier for me to use a wheelchair. Now I have a cat. For me to use a wheelchair instead of a roller tour, because when I need to sit you have to spin it round and you need a bit of room to do so. No! So using a wheelchair seemed like the better option. No, I've used a wheelchair before in very, very, very busy places and circumstances. This is the first time I've ever been elbowed in the head. And like, if you're sitting in a wheelchair, sitting central as you would in a wheelchair, you can imagine it's quite hard for someone to go out of their way to elbow you in the head. Yet it happened. I'm going to show some footage from the show at this point, and then we're going to come back and discuss the rest. So we are on our way to Donny. We have stopped at the services. Shockingly, we can't get any tea. I just, like, is this even Britain anymore? Like, it's just abuse, really. Arriving now at the race course. The queue is massive. Come on, David. Push, push. Just arrived at Donny, and because I'm in my wheelchair, got in early, but that means I was separated from a friend, so actually we're just waiting for them before we got in. But move my finger. But I'm very excited to see what's here. We'll follow you.
Okay. You know the old friend's souvenir stand?
Souvenirs. These are bearded dragons.
Evie? Hello.
What are the ones in those tubs? I can't see them.
Royal pythons.
Look at that noodle.
You want to break free?
Oh, what do you want?
Business card at all?
I could get
Have my
those, can you
business
see them
card
now?
at all?
Morning get those. That's what I wanted.
Instagram or Facebook?
He's not on Instagram, he's not there.
I like the migraine stuff. I bought off Eddie. They don't take any responsibility.
Kimono.
That's what they're internet. Oh, it's right out. Is it still busy? Have you been in here long?
That's why I've got your thing for.
I'm just asking for my son because he's at college. So
That's not cute, it's just like, yeah, I'm done with this show, bye. She is in there, actually really surprised. They're the only 2021s, obviously those two that I have left, and I don't know.
So it's absolutely manic here, completely and utterly manic. We can barely see anything at the tables. People are not making room for wheelchairs. It's usual. We still have cat. So I've been to comic conventions before. I've been to the Northern Invert show before. I've been to like other kind of like very, very busy indoor events before. This is the first one since post-COVID. And I think there's like a lot worth mentioning about it, just because it was not a wholly positive nor a wholly negative experience, and I feel like it's important to discuss this from like a disability point of view. Like there were the what's it called? The arena was an accessible arena. And they were letting disabled people in, like at the side door, so you didn't have to wait in the queue, which was great. But you could only if you were the disabled person, or the disabled I was in a wheelchair, my friend was pushing me. So we had there was 4 of us, and we had to basically separate. So after I was done laughing, because I did think it was quite funny, we just waited for our friends to come. We didn't go into the show or anything. We just waited for them in the entryway, and it didn't take them that long to actually get through the queue. Yeah, so that was it was nice that they were letting the disabled people in, but some people do need assistance even if they don't need someone pushing them. So I felt like maybe some accommodations could have been made in that regard, but it was extremely busy, extremely busy. And obviously, because it was the first show back after COVID and people have been waiting, and there was a lot of obviously there was a lot of people there, but there were a lot of disabled people there, and apart from the venue being accessible, there wasn't really any kind of efforts to make anything else accessible in the show itself. For example, there was at least one disabled toilet that we saw that had been completely blocked off by stall holders, and not by the stalls, but by stuff that they'd kind of piled up in front of the door. We did have to go looking a couple of times to find a disabled toilet, and there was one at least that we found that we couldn't access because of stall holders. Obviously, it's not all stall holders, it was just those stall holders, but it's sort of a bad thing, really, and it really needs to be addressed and brought up. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be blocking off access to a disabled toilet. There was enough empty tables in this particular area so that they could have taken out one table and provided access still to the disabled toilet. Some of the stall holders were really nice. They made an effort to see that, I was in a wheelchair, and when I was desperately trying to look at some of the animals that were on the table, and it wasn't difficult because it was a bad height for it, there was one really super duper nice guy, who actually got a few cups with animals in them to actually just show me. And I was so grateful for that, because it was so nice, other than trying my very best to crane over the top and see between people, because I don't know, sometimes you go to these events and people will make room for you if they've seen that you've been sat there a while waiting, waiting your turn as you would to go see like the stuff that's available. And people will go, oh, you're waiting I shall make room for you. And we did that a few times with other disabled people. After I'd like looked for a little while, it was like, well, this person's waiting, let's make room for them. And some people just like, we were stood waiting, like this person in front of us were like, we're just waiting our turn politely. And as soon as like this person moved off, another person like shoved themselves right in front, so that like again couldn't see. And it's like, hello, I'm not invisible, I'm sat here in a rather large wheelchair that you actually just walked into. We caught a couple of ankles by accident. This tends to happen, but there were several people who literally just walked into my wheelchair like I wasn't even there, not looking at all. This is not something that's isolated to shows. This is something that happens frequently. It's just, you know, in an already crowded situation, you don't quite expect it because people are having to move so slowly anyway. I did buy one snake. And this is the snake that I bought. It was marked as a coral snake on the box, and I'm like, that's not a coral snake, it's a milk snake because of the colour pattern. Red, black, venom black, red, yellow, killer fella. And coral snakes have red, yellow, and milk snakes have red, black. And this is a milk snake of some description. Maybe a Nelson's milk snake? I'm not entirely sure. I've never had a milk snake, but I've always thought they were cool because they look like coral snakes. And this is a garden ornament, so that's going back with the gnomes. So yeah, there was some good things and there was some bad things. There was, once it got to like 1 o'clock and the crowd were filtering ever so slightly more, it was easier to get to the stalls where they weren't selling animals. So my friend sort of like whizzed me around and we quickly were able to sort of go to some of these stalls because people weren't crowding them as much, where they weren't selling, like this is where I got my snake. Whereas like all of the stalls that had animals were still very, very, very crowded, which is to be expected. But because of the IHS, this is a problem with IHS, the Herpetological Society, it's for hobby breeders only to get the stock, but there's some hobby breeders are treated differently from other hobby breeders. Some hobby breeders have got like little business cards with the social medias on and like stickers and little bits of signage and stuff and wearing the t-shirts. And some breeders are like, oh no, if you've got business cards, that means you're a business, so you'll get banned. Oh, you've got stickers, so that means you're a business, so you're going to get banned. Oh, you can't wear a t-shirt, you'll get banned. So they're very restrictive on some people and not so restrictive on others, and there does seem to be a little bit of a dividing line on the sexes, not gonna lie. But, you know, most of the female breeders were treated significantly differently to the male breeders. That's all I'm going to say on that subject, but I'm sure that there are plenty of people who know what I'm talking about and agree with me. Because there was a couple of breeders who I know from like social media who like I was just ready to get down, and like it was harder to see what they had in their stock versus other people, other breeders who were allowed like signage and things saying like, we have crested geckos or we have boas, and other little poor hognose breeders are just like, we have hognoses, hello. I think that's IHS's problem. I know they've got to draw the line somewhere to make sure that businesses aren't posing as hobby breeders, but they've made it extremely difficult to find anything in, like, because it's not like there's a map or anything. They've made it really, really difficult to find the tables which are relevant to you, because, like, you know, I was going really just to look at hog noses, and I ended up looking at a lot of lizards and a lot of boas, And I'm not really interested in either of those species, even though like they were super, super, super cute. And I was like, look at the little derpy noodle, and he's upside down. Oh, bless him. You know, that was really cute. But like, I felt bad for the vendors because I had no interest in buying any of those species. But it was so hard to actually get to the table to see what was for sale. By the time it's there, you kind of feel like you're obligated to go, oh look, it's cute, before you move on. Because you've taken up time and things. My friend came up with the idea that they should have like colour-coded tablecloths so you can see from a distance, like, at least the difference between snake breeders and lizard breeders. That would have made a massive difference. Obviously inverts are not treated as animals, so there was plenty of businesses there selling inverts along with like equipment and taking card payments and all that jazz. Because breeders are not allowed to take cash payments, they have to take they're not allowed to take card payments, they have to take cash. And some of the snakes are like £800, so you can imagine that that's a really sensible idea, having that much cash in one place. I felt like the disappointing parts were brought on by, mostly by the organisers, less so by the breeders and the vendors, a little bit by the attendees, unfortunately, due to their ignorance, because there were a few wheelchair users there and we were all pretty much in the same boat. And when I'd made a comment of this on Facebook, someone was like, well, I think it's the same as any show, unfortunately. No, why should we accept this? Why should we accept this crap treatment as just, oh, it's just an unfortunate part? No, why should we? We're not invisible, we're just disabled, and I don't think we should accept this as like just an inevitability. It should be treated as something that is unacceptable.